Hey y'all, once a week. I have so much to talk about. This is so weird to only do this once a week, but I'm excited. We're making something delicious today. Everything I made today had me thinking about my mother. She would have made this supper. It's also my husband's birthday today, so I made his favorite, and I'm going to show you in a minute what true love looks like. But yeah, I've been cooking all sorts of things all day. And I've been thinking about my mom. So I'm excited about this because we are in South Louisiana having a squash situation. So there's tons of zucchini, tons of yellow squash, like a lot of it. And I want to make sure you're armed with really good recipes so that when you're at the market or maybe at the farmer's market, that you don't pass by that pile of squash because you're just like, "Hey, Jennifer, um, I can't eat another squash." We need to be eating all of them to support these farmers. I can tell I feel like it's early for squash too. I feel like this is more of a June thing, and here we are well, I guess it's late May. But anyway, there are a lot of squash, so I wanted to tackle squash today. So, I'm gonna tell you what I've got going so far. And what I've got in my cast iron, oh, these comments come and go and I miss them. I'm so sorry. I think Reagan is in comments and I just saw Jennifer. So hopefully they can pop in. But I love that you guys are here and I love doing this. So super fun. Okay. This is what I've got going so far. And let's see how I can best show you guys this. So I've got a half of a pretty large onion and a small bell pepper. So if your bell pepper is gigantic, just cut it in half. But I'm sauteing that, and I'm sauteing that in something super aromatic in our caramelized onion avocado oil. See if I can get back to where I was. Okay. I hope I didn't lose you guys. I'm just going to press on. Okay. So, onion and bell pepper in caramelized onion avocado oil. So, everything we're doing today, we're in the Mediterranean. So, we're using sun dried tomatoes, we're using basil, we're using a grain called farro. So, we want to be super aromatic, but also have those pops of, thank you, Jennifer, those pops of brightness. And we're going to get that from the spice blend that we use. And we're also going to get that from um, the sun-dried tomatoes. So that's doing its thing. So I want to get these squash ready to get in the baking dish. So I've got a zucchini and I've got a squash, a yellow squash. They're all squash. So what I want to do is cut this lengthwise, and you're essentially going to make two boats. So I've got that guy cut in half and then this guy. So I leave stems on, ends on, because I like to know that it's a squash. I think they're pretty. And so you definitely wouldn't eat that stem, but I think it's pretty to leave on. So I'm going to work my spoon kind of like a knife. And so I'm really going to get in there and cut to get all of that out of there. So we're gonna cook this squash that I'm getting out of here. I saw a recipe where they were like, discard the inside. I was like, what? Why would you do that? Um, so I'm gonna get all of this out of here. And then the boats that are left I just microwave them. I've seen recipes to boil them. I think you could probably bake them, but I did 4 minutes in the microwave because you want to cook these part way and then you're gonna cook your stuffing. So everything's cooked. So it's just warming and kind of all getting married once you get it stuffed. Okay. So I've got that one done, and I'm leaving about a quarter of an inch. And we're going to pretend like I microwave these. But when I microwaved them, they were fork tender. Like I could hit them with a fork and I didn't get much resistance, but they weren't mushy. All right, let me get this one done as well. This made me think of my mother. I could just hear her calling me in the kitchen to do this. Uh-oh, made a hole. Don't do that. Let me go closer on me so that you all can see how I'm doing this. But you want to wield this soup spoon and use it like a knife to get all of that out of there. But she would have had me doing this while she was doing something else. And I probably wouldn't have been happy about it. But I just had that visceral memory of her doing that. Oh, and then these, look how cute that is. Don't worry about that hole. You won't do that. You'll never make that kind of mistake in the kitchen. So I'm going to leave this stem in pretty much intact. It'll get soft and you can eat it, but I'm not going to stuff that in. I'm going to stuff more back here in this bowl. That's adorable. And here's the next one. And I do hit these with salt and pepper and then microwave them. Grapefruit spoon. Hey, Kathy. Yep, a grapefruit spoon would do it with a serrated edge. Okay, so then this is an enamel cast iron. I'm obviously not going to put that in my microwave. You would put that in a 9 by 13, something microwave safe. Salt and pepper, microwave them, and we're going to pretend like they are fork tender. Okay, so salt and pepper, let me do that. Salt, let's see. How's that? And then can you, before you scoop them? I don't see why not, Terry. She's asking, can you microwave them before you scoop them? I don't see why not. It would probably make life a little bit easier. Um, I do want to saute this part of the squash with the onions and bell pepper, but there again, if it were softened up a little bit, no harm, no foul. You could certainly do it that way. So as we saute our filling, I'm going to go through this with my knife, just a rough chop. So as we saute, every subsequent thing that we saute, we want to make sure the word here is dry. You want to cook all the liquid out as you go through these stages. So I'm going to crank my heat up a little bit, and I'm going to get these a little bit smaller. But we want to get the squash in with the onion and bell pepper. Sorry, that pepper got me. Okay, squash goes in. Great sound. The best thing ever. Okay, squash is in. We want to cook that and get that liquid out of there. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and go in here with my mushrooms and sun-dried tomatoes. So, mushrooms. Here in Baton Rouge, if you're with us in Baton Rouge, Maggie, Mushroom Maggie, who I talk about a lot, she's at the farmer's market. She on Thursdays and Saturdays. She's all over New Orleans. If you go to Southside Produce in Baton Rouge, she's there. Yeah, so exciting. So I did a combo of oyster and shiitake. And I'm going to go ahead and get those in with my squash. All of that liquid needs to release and dissolve and evaporate. All right, so in goes mushrooms and squash. And let me just pull this over for you guys to see. I know it's hard to see back here, but we've got, oh, and I put my sun-dried tomatoes in as well. So jarred sun-dried tomatoes, mine were whole, so I cut them into juliennes, into slivers. Diced sun-dried tomatoes, super easy, good pantry staple to have on hand. So here I am going left-handed, and I'm not. But look at that. onion, bell pepper, squash, mushrooms. Let's get all that liquid out of here. And boop, boop. Yes, oyster mushrooms. You're right. So good. Okay, I'm going to crank the heat up. We're going to live on the edge. I'm going to get all of that liquid out of there. Toward the end of the next step, I'm going to get garlic in. Tuscan blend. That's our blend that we're using. I've used it before in a Facebook Live because it's so delicious. And Jennifer's really worried right now, but it's coming back in stock. Don't worry. Oh my gosh. Sun-dried tomato, onion, garlic, a little bit of zing. There's lemon. So good. We do Jennifer's sheet pan shrimp pasta. Amazing. Great for bread dipping. Fantastic on just like chicken or shrimp skewers. Really, really good. So I'm going to go in with Tuscan blend and I'm doing a good tablespoon. And I'm going to get that stirring around and we're going to get all that liquid out of there. So I told you guys I'm going to show you what true love looks like. And again, just thinking about my mom all day. So I think this task was something I did with my grandmother, who we called mom, my dad's mom. I couldn't place the memory of who, but I remember this. And what my husband's favorite meal is crawfish bisque. So today I I have the stew essentially going on the back burner in my grandmother's cast iron. And what I did was made a stuffing, and it's crawfish, onion, bell pepper, garlic, celery, breadcrumbs, an egg, and then you stuff. Are they crawfish heads or, oh, Jennifer's saying Main Street Market blend and Zydeco, another blend that we have, worked well on squash, and that makes sense. Zydeco is a little tricky spice blend. It's got spinach and turmeric on it in it, and you taste it and you're like, what is happening here? It is amazing. Okay, so crawfish, we eat the tail and then there's what we call the head, but it's really the body. And so you take the heads and you pull all the insides out and you have a shell. And you can do this at your next crawfish boil. I suggest a rubber glove because you will cut your fingers, but you can also buy them from Tony's Seafood. And you take the bodies and you stuff them with that stuffing I just described and you bake them. Fun fact, pro tip. So these heads come frozen from Tony's. Soak them in hot water because they were just popping and breaking on me. So soak them in hot water. But for South Louisiana folks of a certain age, like me, where your family made this, you can remember having the job of sitting there and having to stuff all these heads. So that's why I say this is true love. This took a little while and I burned these and I'm not happy about it. And we might still eat them, but I just wanted to save them. So I had extra stuffing left over. I didn't have enough heads. So I made meatballs essentially. I think they're called a boulette in South Louisiana cuisine. And what happens is these get dropped into this beautiful stew that I made. So again, all these memories of my mom. So I was standing there today making my roux and I wasn't ready. And just do as I say, not as I do, you guys. You have to be ready. You have to have your aromatics ready and your stock ready. So I was doing this number of trying to like reach and grab things and get it all ready because my roux was getting to the point where I needed to cool it down. You got to have a plan. And so I made this beautiful stew, and those stuffed crawfish heads and little meatballs are going to get dropped in there along with another pound of crawfish tails. So there's crawfish tails in this stew. It's a dark brown roux, so it's not like an étouffée. An étouffée is a little more blonde, and depending on who's making it, mine is a little toward not tomato heavy, but there's definitely a tomato component there. So my étouffée is a little pink. This is like gumbo dark roux. So let's look at what I did. And this is looking fantastic. And this smells fantastic. And I'm going to show it to you in just a second because it's perfect. It's all that liquid is gone. Okay. That is making me super nervous. Let's do this. I don't like that handle. Let's see. So dark brown stew with all those aromatics. It's just been simmering all day and it gets served over rice. So what's going to happen before dinner tonight is I'm going to drop that last crawfish in about an hour before we eat. And then I'm, of course, going to adjust my seasonings and I'm going to warm through the crawfish, stuffed crawfish bodies in the bisque. And this is a once a year happy birthday meal for Greg because it's a little bit of work. So if y'all do this on the regular, pat yourself on the back. That's a good dish. It's a good item. Okay, this goes back. We'll eat that later. Let me show you how this is looking because it is exactly how it should be. So all that squash has released its liquid. It's actually sticking a little bit. That's okay because that is fond. Okay, this Tuscan's getting me, y'all. I'm gonna cough. So what happens now is wine, quarter cup of wine, and you let it reduce. So let's talk about wine and talk about this step in Mediterranean cooking that's so important. Almost lit that on fire. Okay, so that wine goes in, super complex. And so that liquid dissolves, but all those sugars are left behind and it's super flavorful. So if alcohol isn't in um, part of your cooking routine, then what you want to do is you can go in with a little bit of lemon and water. But what I would do is go in with one of our white balsamics. So white balsamics are thin, they're not thick and reduced like dark balsamics. So you would go in with a white balsamic, probably some white balsamic and water, and then let that reduce. And just like the wine, all that liquid's going to cook away and all that goodness is going to be soaked into that stuffing. I feel like I've forgotten something, garlic. So, and I need to grate another. I feel like if there's one activity that defines our cooking in the pandemic, it's me grating garlic. I feel like I've grated garlic almost every Facebook Live. I'm a fan. I do not like mincing garlic. So this is magic for me. Okay. So we are going on a farm tour Saturday. It is sold out. So we're excited to have the folks with us. But we feel like we've got possibly one more in us this if it happened in early June. So private farm tours are available to you. If you can get a group, we need a group of 12. And we'd love to take you on a tour. Lily and I take you on a tour. They're super fun. And what's great about them is the majority of the time we spend together is open air. So it's perfect for where we are right now with limitations with distancing. So we would love to have you on a farm tour. You can pop in and message Reagan in comments right now, or just go to our website and We're not taking the van that we usually take so that we can all distance appropriately. Each business that we visit are going to make accommodations for us in terms of distancing and perhaps giving the presentation outdoors. But the coolest thing is the cooking class at the end of the farm tour is at Point Marie, which is a beautiful neighborhood here in Baton Rouge, and they have a gorgeous outdoor cooking setting. So we can do it all outdoors. So Lily and I feel like we might have one more in us, and we'd love to take you and your group, your what are they called now? Bubbles, on a farm tour. The other thing we're doing, and don't tell me you have Zoom fatigue because you can do this. We're doing Zoom classes, y'all. We've got 4 up on the website. One of them, I'm teaching roux. We're going to make a roux. And then we're going to turn it into, I tried to think of the fastest thing I could make with a roux that's Cajun Creole and that shrimp and okra gumbo, but it's actually perfect timing because we're about to have okra coming out of our ears. So, but you're going to learn to make a roux and make a gumbo. But we have 3 other classes up, and they're a bargain at 20 bucks. And we give you all the instructions and let you know what to prep, let you know what to have ready, and then you Zoom with us. You can cook with us, or you can sit back and watch us. We're going to get them done in 60 minutes, and then you're going to get a killer discount for shopping afterwards. So, no Zoom fatigue. It's time for you to Zoom with us. Okay, let me get these squash stuffed. Okay, so this smells like magic. And then I'm going to fold in farro. So farro is a grain that's common in the Mediterranean, and my big plan was to have some raw farro so you could see what it looks like, and then the cooked farro, and then I cooked it all. So I don't have any raw farro to show you. It looks like a big chunky piece of brown rice. It cooks up, I cook it like pasta, meaning it's swirling in a lot of water. It's not a rice situation where it's 2 parts water, 1 part rice, and all that water gets absorbed. It is something that I cook in a lot of rolling water, and then I drain it off. It, pearled farro, which you'll find most often, it will cook in 15 minutes. And what I did to this farro is cooked it in the Tuscan blend. I put a tablespoon of Tuscan blend in the water and cooked it with Tuscan. And it is pretty amazing. So I've got, and it's what I love about farro is it's got a nice chew, uh, a good hearty grain. And I just like that texture. So I'm going to go in with a half a cup, and I'm going to fold that around, and I'm going to add some mozzarella cheese. Another cheese that would be wonderful here would actually be feta and would be very fitting with what we've done here. I had mozzarella on hand, so that's what I used. But whoopsie, I'm back. So I'm going to go in with some mozzarella, and it's going to help bind it. And then I'm going to reserve a little bit of mozzarella and sprinkle it on top at the end of the cooking process. So remember, these squash would have microwaved for, in my microwave, it was 4 minutes, and you want them fork tender, but not mushy. And then you bake them at 350 for 20 minutes with foil on them. Then you remove the foil, add some more cheese, and let them bake for about 5 minutes. But all we're going to do, let me pull this over. So all we're going to do, let me get close on that for you guys, is stuff these guys. So this is a blank canvas, you guys. Like, you've got the squash. You definitely want to cook the squash that you pulled out of the center. That's a must. But then from there, you have all sorts of options. You can, but I made these meatless. Oh, chickpeas would be fantastic with this. But I love the idea of a chewy grain like barley or farro versus rice. Oh, another thing, a nut like pine nuts or walnuts would be delicious. So all that stuffing goes in there, and depending on how hungry you are, it might be a side. Oh, this goes on at the end. This might be a side or a main dish, depending on who we're talking about. This would definitely be a great lunch for me. But let me get all of this out of the way, and then I'll show you what I have prepared. That goes there, here. Let's see. Got some in the oven. Oh my goodness. Oh, they're gorgeous. The other thing I did, which I didn't show you all, as usual, there's always something I forget. Big handful of basil. I sliced that up and folded that in at the end with the farro. Absolutely gorgeous. And then I'm going to garnish this with more basil for my serving. So let's see how I did. I'm just going to get this guy. It's a little more manageable. So pretty. Looks amazing. I can smell that sun-dried tomato from the Tuscan. So yummy. Let's get a little bit of basil on here. So I want to see you guys in our Zoom classes. They're going to be so much fun. Lily's got one coming up Monday. It's plant-based and it's lettuce wraps with um, all sorts of crazy sauces and looks wonderful. But check out those Zoom classes. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Let's see how I did. And eat the squash, you guys. Don't eat the stuffing out of the squash. When I married my husband, I made stuffed peppers. So summertime was stuffed bell pepper. My father planted a garden one time, one year, and the only thing he could grow was bell peppers. So we ate a lot of bell peppers. And so my husband was eating his stuffed pepper and he ate the stuffing out of it, and there was this bell pepper sitting on his plate. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "I'm eating my pepper." I'm like, "But you didn't eat the pepper." So I eat the bell pepper, you guys. So I'm gonna eat the squash. Mm. Oh, I love that. So the chew from the farro is really, really satisfying. And I hate to say meaty when it comes to a meatless meal, but it's definitely that sensation of something meaty. Um, and then the mushrooms, oh, they're so good. Great umami flavor from the mushrooms. I love, love, love that Tuscan. It's got a teeny bit of heat to it. So really, really interesting. And then the squash is sweet. It's just so yummy. It hits, and then the brightness from the basil, it hits all the points. So really, really good. I love doing this. I know you like it when I talk to you with my mouth full. Squash is not a problem. There is not too much squash. There's always something we can do with it. So definitely make these. Let me know how you expand on it. Let me know what you add or change, and go buy a bunch of squash this weekend. All right, you guys, I love you all. Thank you all for being with me. I love seeing that number. That's so cool. I love that you guys were here. I'll be back next week. Next week, I'm talking about our next meal bundle, which is pretty dynamite. So definitely join me then. But this was super fun. Make some squash. Love you guys. Have a great day. Bye. Happy birthday, Greg. Bye.